YouTube. Oh my gosh. YouTube. This is a Sansui linear tracking turntable. I believe this is one of their entry-level linear tracking turntables. I know they had much nicer ones. It's called a P-L40. I think there's a P-L50 that is extremely similar, but let's go over some of the features. Of course, you have your luxurious power on-off button. Then you have the normal and the inverse speed. Inverse would be, of course, your faster speed, 45, I believe, right? I don't know. I think it's 45. Yeah, 45. And then you have up and down. Okay, so see how fast that moves? That's just like, that is so fast for linear tracking. I've had dozens of these, and this one is by far one of the fastest lowering and raising. And then it doesn't hesitate to get going either. It gets off the record and does its deal there. And then you have your repeat button and your play or start stop button, and these are integrated into this really cool panel here, and I'll raise it up just a tad so I can show you. It has a lock, so a digital lock. It'll tell you when it's on, and then you have your speed, which is, here's the 45 and there's the 33, and then you have your size of the record, and then this is your repeat button. Now in dim light, these actually glow a little bit. I don't know if the GoPro is going to pick that up. Anyway, so those are your basic functions. Now there's no size adjustment on here, and that is because, let's remove the record here, set him to the side, let's find a good place for it. Okay, there is a ultraviolet, maybe UV, no, anyways, there's a light that comes down here, and it is read by these little indicator pickups. Let's move the platter here so you can see. So there are little plastic clear pickups here that will pick up that light and then push it down these holes here where there's a sensor underneath. It'll tell it what size. As far as plates are concerned, this is not an impressive plate. It's well under a pound. Not that that's bad, but the heavier the plate, generally, the better off you're going to be as far as keeping a steady speed. And then, because of this design, these mats are specific to the player. So if you buy one without a mat, get ready to pay, because I was only able, and then when I realized this was a specialized mat, of course I looked it up. Cheapest one I could find was 30 bucks. Now you could always create your own, so it's whatever you want to do there. When I picked it up, it was dirty, really dirty. I couldn't really assess the condition. I just knew that it powered up, but it acted funny. So I went ahead and bought it. And when I started to break it down, or when I brought it in and I started to clean it up, it cleaned up really nice. And I'm like, okay, well, this is probably worth putting some time into. So I went ahead and started breaking it down, because the tone arm wasn't moving, but the plate was spinning. So I decided to go ahead and start, and I'll go ahead and show you how to break it down here real quick. So, gotta yank that off again. Oh, that's good. That's awesome. Okay. These two screws here come out, and then this teases up and then over and out, and that creates an opening for the tone arm. And the tone arm does come up quite a bit, and it will rest itself up. So then after this is off, there's two screws here, and there is one underneath, and kind of catty corner to the center, and then there's 3 on each side. And once all of those are off, the top actually slides completely off, and this is free moving as well. It slides completely off, and there are circuit boards throughout. And this particular circuit board that sits right here has some attachments to the top, I believe. No, that's another record player that I just worked on. Never mind. This one doesn't have any. It just pops off and you're good. There's no weaseling around the tone arm or anything. It's all really straightforward, so it just comes off. And the belts, there's 2 belts. One belt drives the raising and lowering of the tone arm. The other belt drives the wire cable that runs the tone arm. And one's over here and one's over here. And you can see that these are lobed, or this one is lobed really bad. So even if I would have left it in there and got it running, this one wouldn't have behaved right. In fact, I'm fairly certain it would slip. Okay, so I got the belts changed, powered it on with everything off, of course, safety first. And so powered it on, and all it was doing was, the motor was doing its servo thing, where it's just, cutting like that. So I thought, well, maybe there's something wrong, maybe the grease is old. So I degreased all of the mechanisms in the tone arm, and as I was degreasing them, I happened to notice that right here underneath this panel is a jumper cable that jumpers it from 240 to 120 volts. And of course, here in the US, we're 140 or 120, 120. We're a combination of both. The 120, and so when I moved the jumper cable over to 120, I went ahead and relubed all of the gears, and bam, it lit right up and just did everything perfectly. So the last issue I faced was that the RCA jacks were not behaving. They'd aged, and there were some loose connections inside the AC jack or RCA jacks, and so I went ahead and spliced another one on there. Usually, because I go through so many turntables, I usually keep the cords from the ones that I end up having to part out because I can't repair them. But I can't find my box of them, so I just went ahead and spliced just so I could get this done and try it out. And speaking of which, we'll go ahead and put it back together. One other note, I will say that this is quite possibly one of the easiest turntables to work on as far as linear tracking. All of the other linear tracking turntables that I've worked on, with the exception of maybe a couple, none of them were this straightforward to work on. It's almost as if they built them, some of them, they built them never to be maintained, or, take somebody with special tools and skills and a lot of patience. So, anywho, I can't think of anything else on this particular player that was unique that is worth mentioning. Pretty cool though. I love how fast it moves, how fast it drops. It just goes. I really like how all the buttons are working flawlessly. I mean, I don't know if this is the original needle stylus. If it is, then the person who had it before me rarely used it, because even when I have this all the way down, that stylus is ringing right now. I mean, I can hear the music over me talking. I don't know if the GoPro picks that up, but it's there. Alright, if you have one of these and you agree that it's pretty darn easy to maintain, put some comments out there in the comments. And if you're interested in buying one of these, they sold a lot of them, so they actually are fairly easy to come by. You probably come by one at a thrift store or a estate sale, and of course eBay. eBay has a bunch of them. So, cool record player.